So one struggle I had to overcome in life was my social anxiety, and it's like I had it for basically as long as I can remember. Um, well, a little after as long as I can remember because I can remember a lot of things, but I remember being really young, probably around 3 or 4, where I just started getting like I would try to talk to people in my class. Obviously, I was like in preschool, and I would just be like ignored, like completely shut out, and it kind of like traumatized me, where I just didn't really like to deal with people because it was just something that just kept happening to me, even as I got older, is that people would ignore me, or some friends I had would just, like middle school was like the worst. Some friends I had would just out of nowhere just shut me out, and I didn't know why. And it gave me such this anxiety about not being good enough and not even wanting to bother speaking to people. If I had to speak to people, like my heart would just race. I would immediately get soaking wet, like I would just start sweating. It's just like I didn't want to deal with that. I didn't want to have to deal with that possible rejection just for seemingly no reason. So, and I know like childhood is like the worst. It's like really rough because children are pretty terrible. So, yeah, it was rough, and I really started getting the mindset that I just wasn't a people person. I went through this whole thing. I remember being in my room, probably around 13 or 14 or something, and I was just like, you know what, F people. Like, I don't care. I was like, as long as I have myself and I have God, I was just like, forget it. Like, why even bother dealing with them? So I really thought that I wasn't a people person. I was very like I was always kind of like a festive person, and I was always I liked events, and I was just like, oh, it'd be like really cool to have these kinds of events when I get older, when I get my own place. But then I was just like, well, why would I do that, and who would I invite? And I was like, I dreaded the idea of hosting, and I was just really thinking like I wasn't a people person. And it wasn't until that I really, I guess, got completely out of that mindset was probably when I was 24. I was a hostess at a restaurant. I just was basically going for any job that I could get. It was just like I graduated college at like the worst time in the economy, and it was just like impossible to get a job. And so it was like 2 years of having like random jobs, and then I moved to Philadelphia. I got a job as a hostess slash cashier at this restaurant, and I had to learn how to talk to people, and it was really hard. And then somewhere down the line I realized, you know what, maybe I am a people person. Like, people consistently came to the restaurant just to talk to me. They would order food that they didn't even really want just to talk to me. And I was just like, wait a minute, really? So and I got like massive tips. So yeah, and I was just like, wait a minute, I am a people person. And maybe I always was, because I always was the one talking when I was 3 or whatever, going up to people to talk to them. And it was them that, it was their reaction that caused me to, think otherwise. And so the moral of this story is, don't let people tell you who you are. You know who you are. Don't let people's reactions affect the way you act. I went most of my entire life thinking that I just didn't mesh well with people, and it wasn't about me. I don't know what it was about with some of these people, and maybe I was I don't know. We're children, right? So because I really started getting really decent people in my life when I was around 15, like 14 and 15. But but even after that, it was, it takes a while to unlearn something and unthink something. So like I said, it wasn't until I was 24 that I was just like, you know what, I do really vibe well with people. And I didn't realize I was just so affected by the way I was treated when I was younger, or disregarded when I was younger. And so, like I said, the moral of the story is to just know yourself and not let people's reactions determine the way you act. You know, a lot of people can really change up their whole thing based off of one person, and it's like, don't do that, you know? Be who you are. So that is the moral of this story. And it's hard to go down that like memory lane because I can feel how I felt, and it was just so crappy and lonely. And I'm so glad that I got out of that mindset and that I know my worth. So thanks for watching and listening.